Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub and your facilitator here at the Captain's Table. The Captain's Table is, of course, a podcast. We do pretty weekly, almost every week. Sometimes I take breaks from it, but on Saturdays, where I bring together people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen. And I forgot to change the names. So, Darissa and the Real KG, welcome back. You've changed since last week.
Hey, man. Yeah,
Hey, it's great to be here.
Of course, I am with some regulars here. I've got Mr. Darionator and Senor Nick.
Hey, it's Nick's with two Y's.
Is it two Y's? There we go.
also, center justify that, man.
I can't. There's no way to center justify with
OBS. What?
With OBS. No, there's no control over it.
That's rude.
Drag it where you need it. That's how you usually do it. Or arrow keys. I use arrow keys.
Yeah, I've been using the arrow keys as well. I'm going to refresh your cameras as well because there's some something going on. There we go. All right. With that all being said, hello. This is also being sponsored. We had some technical issues with this before, and I figured out what the issues were. So this is sort of kind of a last-minute sponsorship from the movie Renfield, which is coming out in theaters on April 14th. It was a movie that I was already interested in seeing. My wife showed me showed the trailer to me a couple of months ago, and I'm like, this is fantastic. I want to go see it. So if you see some advertisements pop up, just that's the sponsorship. So and that's because we're doing this live. So you can.
I can see so many memes coming from that movie.
Yes, 100%. It is a meme machine. So just keep that in mind especially if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, where we'll watch the trailer in between the sessions as well. All right. So today's topic is going to be wipes and do they hurt Star Citizen or not? But before we get into that, let's have some introductions. Let's start with you, Senor Nick. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Hey, it's Nick. You can find me on Star Citizen Twitch TV/Hey It's Nick with two Y's, not one. And you can see me also playing a lot with a lot of content creators. And now I'm kind of taking a break from Star Citizen, but I did just join an org, SCPD. So I joined the Space Cops, and they're setting up a law system with a law system that follows UEE law. And a whole court system where if players want to interact with that court system, they can come in and actually do an actual trial that's run by actual lawyers. And you can have actual lawyers represent you, and we will follow UEE law as much as we can to a T. And it's going to be entertaining, to say the least. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to.
To say the least, yes. Awesome. Yeah, I've actually mentioned it was mentioned as well by Expat Brat when she came on. She was talking about that as well. So pretty cool. Good to see that. And then we have the Emperor of Uranus, Prince of Pluto himself, Mr. Darionator. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Hello, I am Darionator, also known as Darge. In Star Citizen, I am probably one of the loudest people on Reddit that gets to yell at idiots, particularly in situations that we'll be discussing today. But also, I don't stream. I don't really have it in me to stream. I'm not one of those people who can just sit there for like 6 or 8 hours and do the same thing huge respects to Paul and Nick for doing that. It's like, it's not in me. It's not who I am. I do, occasionally pop up on podcasts like this where I drink and be merry. I have recently, for a while, have been working for GRDF. If you know who that is, hello, camera, hello. There we go. If you know who that is, we make we're the only official licensed makers of Star Citizen model ships and stuff like that. I've recently graduated to 3D model maker. I would like to tell you what I'm working on right now, other than it's super exciting, but I have recently been told that the letters N and D in NDA stand for no Darge.
So. You can't say that.
But I can tell you it's very exciting, and we got a lot of great stuff happening now that I am on board. Like, at least we got stuff coming instead of, there has been like over a year of nothing, while the big cheeses at JRDF have been working with other bigger things. So we got kits coming finally.
I will back it up because I am also under similar NDA from JRDF, so I can confirm that there are big things coming. It is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to them myself. I also got to finish my freelancer before I start getting into those new kits that come out.
I am under no NDA, so everything you say coming out of my mouth is complete bullshit.
That's not new though.
There's also two things that I just saw in chat that I would like to address. I am drinking a hazy double IPA from a local brewery that's like 15 kilometers that way, and they have excellent burgers. And as soon as they see me walking through the door, they already know what's up. And there was also another discussion. Homac is better than HOTAS. There's no competition there, right, Nick?
Homac is the greatest. Yeah.
What is the difference between those two? Because especially since we have newer folks who may not know these acronyms.
Homac is hands and mouse and keyboard that I have made up that I'm trying to proliferate. If people who use joystick and throttle and two joysticks get to have their own little
terms,
fancy word for it, like hands on throttle and stick and hand on stick and stick, I'm making hand on mouse and keyboard a thing. So
there we go. That works. Homac.
Yeah.
Instant switch to being able to board and raid ships. Don't
have to worry about it. All right. So. As I said it earlier, today's topic is going to mostly be about wipes and how they affect Star Citizen, and then we'll have a discussion later talking more about taking questions from the chat and such. So if you're watching this on Monday after the fact, make sure that you've hit that like button, make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell icon. All of those things will help spread the word and also let you know when we go live, so you can join this conversation on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Would love to have you here with chat, who's hanging out here with us as well.
That was my attempt at trying to do like the bell sound, but it was a bit out of key.
Yes. So we'll start with you, Darshan, since you're the last one to introduce yourself. Let's just go over very basic. We know as of, I think a couple days ago, that 3.18.1 and 3.18.2 will both have full wipes. What is your initial reaction to that idea that we're going to see full wipes with 3.18.1 and 3.18.2?
I'm fine with it. I think that even in the little disclaimer that pops up every time you start the Robert's Businesses launcher, that they say that wipes are possible. It's like, I would like there to not to be wipes. I would like there to be actual persistence and whatever I do in the game to matter. Yes, I would like that, but I'm also realistic in accepting the fact that this is still an alpha, that they're still building the backend. There is actually no other game that uses the same sort of database that Star Citizen is trying to use. The node-based graph that they're called. It's called graph because in maths there's a thing called graph theory that connects these. Basically, it's like a two-dimensional sort of way of looking at connections between sort of entities. So yeah, it's complicated and it's gonna break, and that is why they have to wipe. I completely understand that. What I would like them to do is enable or create a more robust communications channel. So as soon as they make a decision like this, it goes out to everyone, not just people who watch ISC, because that's a small percentage. Or even a smaller percentage watch SCL. Even a smaller percentage go on Spectrum to read these things. They need to have like communication channel there where they can do these bigger announcements as they have, and just get them in front of the eyes of everyone. That's I've been thinking about this for a while. They kind of going in the right place, in the right direction with the little disclaimer, like I mentioned in the launcher. But that is a wall of text that people just go, yeah, fine, whatever. I just want to play, and they don't read it. people don't read. We discussed this. Gamers
You
don't
know
read.
this.
So they need a big idiot and like one short sentence announcement, and would you like to know more below it, so they can, if they want to, they can read more. But so they have like 3 or 4 words that the ADHD rattled brains of gamers that they still can't get around.
Okay.
That's my biggest gripe right now.
So you're not
you
really
have to go through podcasts to get the information about it,
or watch like
and YouTube videos
board gamer
from other.
or
Yeah, exactly. Because CIG is so bad at actually getting the pertinent information in front of the people.
Yeah. So you're saying that the issue isn't necessarily that the wipes are going to happen, but that CIG is slow and not really fully committed to a single channel of information to get this information out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just not about the wipes. All the information. They have a nice little sidebar in the launcher, but it's underutilized.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like,
yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of games, for those of you who play other MMOs or even other games similar to Star Citizen or other kind of multiplayer experiences. Any game that has a launcher generally has a little news ticker on the side that will tell you all the information you need. It takes you I usually read them, the first couple of them, whenever I boot up a game with a launcher, just to see what they're talking about, because they often talk about like DLC.
But that is like a side information. It's not like announcements, like a proper announcements that affect everyone. I think that because a lot of people are just going to go on autopilot until they get into the game. And I think this has to be like a big window when you get into the game, like boom, like announcement, big announcement before you start playing.
Even in the main menu of the game, they could add in like news announcements for what's happening with the servers and everything. I think there's a lot of features like that they could easily add in just for a quick notification of, hey, this is what's going on right now. Click this link and we'll take you to the Spectrum post or whatever to read more information on it.
Yeah. Now, but I know why the big announcement in the launcher when you hit launch is as verbose as it is, because legally speaking, they need to include all of that information from the get-go. So they absolve themselves of any responsibility that happens because people ignore it. But it's like oh fuck, it's like 4 paragraphs. I'm not reading this. I'm just gonna click OK and go through it. And then people just don't know what's happening. There needs to be a simple way of getting people to know what happens.
Okay. Nick, same question to you. What was your initial thoughts on the wipe for 3.18.1 and 3.18.2?
I was personally expecting it to fully wipe, and I was kind of surprised seeing them announce that they're actually going to try to keep a lot of this data into 3.18.1 and 3.18.2. I like with how badly the 3.18 launch went. I was just really concerned with the way they were communicating how they were going to keep this information on this data. Like first it was like, okay, yeah, we're just going to make sure you keep your UEC and everything. So then everyone was like, okay, well then I'll just prepare, sell things, we'll save up and not. And then it was kind of like all the communication leading up to the wipe announcement was all about, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to it'll keep your UEC, you'll keep your UEC, you'll keep your UEC, up until like 1 or 2 days before it was just like, actually, no, we're doing a full wipe. And they did do a lot of like asterisks within their communication of being like, we're aiming to not do it, but it's possible.
A lot of weasel words, yeah.
A lot of weasel words to just kind of fit them out, when I think they could have just said nothing. Like absolutely said nothing until they could have just said we're still, what they could have communicated for people asking what if there is a wipe or not would have been just a simple, we are still in the process of assessing if a wipe is needed or not until a decision is made. I think all these kind of like hoping that it would not wipe, hoping that we could get the UEC, hoping that they're trying to do this, kind of led to a lot of false expectations on the community side of what they could expect when 3.18.1 releases. I think that was just kind of one way they kind of didn't manage the expectations of the community and set those expectations for the community. Outside of that, I don't blame them whatsoever for having to wipe. I mean, the data, as I said earlier, was like very corrupted. There's exploits being used. It's just a bad bunch of data that needs to be wiped and reset. So I'm definitely not going to blame any devs
I'm
there.
reminded of a Spectrum thread a couple of like months ago with the previous wipe was like, and how they were when they were migrating to this entity graph database for the first time, and it's like, yeah, well, why don't you guys just use the SQL database? That's like the standard that everybody uses. It's proven to work. It's like, no, it's with this much information that there is in the database for Star Citizen, an SQL database is going to be orders of magnitude too slow. That's why graphs exist, because they are so much faster. There was a video made. What was it? Math stand-up. He was trying to do Matt Parker was trying to do like a problem, and he tried to do like something to do with Wordle, like five letter word math problem, and he wrote a completely standard program with normal database search queries and everything to figure out, and it took him a couple of weeks for his computer to churn through all the information that was there. And then he put out a challenge to his viewers to come up with a program that would do the same task with the same sort of knowledge base, the word base, and get to the same result. And a person that used graph theory in his program got it down to a couple of milliseconds. Yes, milliseconds, not days or weeks.
Was that the Tom Scott video? I think I seen that.
Yeah.
Matt Parker, stand-up maths.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the sort of difference we're talking about when it comes to regular word databases. And I have a big bug on my wall. I'm gonna have to deal with that. So
okay.
That's why I'm looking to the left right now, because it's like huge. And graph theory. That is the reason why they went through it, and the reason that the only ones there, there's no one to learn from. They have to make the mistakes. They have to learn, and they're gonna break it, and we're gonna break it, and they're gonna have to wipe it, because some of the stuff that breaks it is just gonna be, fucking hell, it's a big bug. Speaking of big bugs, it's just gonna be that bad that they need to do a complete wipe and create a new version of the graph database to handle the game. I'm just gonna take a photo of this.
Okay, so Darsh, this is not the first time a murder hornet has showed up at Darsh's window trying to take care of. So, holy, that's,
wow!
I know. I think I know what that
Kill
is.
that with fire. No, immediately.
I think that's a house scorpion.
That's a centipede.
No,
a centipede. Yeah,
is it a centipede? Okay, because the legs are a little long. That's the reason why I thought it might be a house scorpion. House scorpions are they hunt bugs, other bugs like roaches and stuff.
Yeah, they hunt bugs. Yeah. I just don't like them.
Yes,
I've gotten to grips with spiders, because spiders are good. Spiders eat other bugs. But this thing, fucking hell, man.
Spiders are chill. They just chill there. They don't move. They don't go
spider
chasing
bros are
things. Fine. They just hang out. Like, I'm cool with spiders. Like,
we can't wait until y'all crawl into the Star Citizen caves in 2 years when they have all their creepy collies they want.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to have
Will you hear
collies.
The little along the walls, and you're just like chitters and like little biological noises.
Chitter, crawl.
Look up, you see something like that, but 4 times the size, crawling on the ceiling, looking down at you.
Okay,
It drops
so
down on
it's
you.
bigger here than it is in real life, but it's like 2 inches long.
Jeez.
Still big.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, go, Nick. I'm gonna do.
So Nick, overall though, let's go back into the actual discussion itself. Let's talk about wipes in general, because one of the things I've seen from people is that there's a lot of people who seem to be very turned off by wipes, because a lot of the folks, and CIG's even said this, or Chris Roberts' letter to the chairman even kind of mentioned this, that most of the folks who've been playing Star Citizen have gotten into it over the last year or the last 3 years. You hit a huge amount, like almost half of the players we have who've started playing Star Citizen are from the last 3 years of the game. So for people who don't understand, like Star Citizen used to wipe every patch. Like they used to wipe every single patch. So we recently we had an 18-month stretch without any wipes, and then last one was about 12 months when 3.18 went out. So patches have become
a wipe every patch again.
Yes. So the wipes have been less frequent. So the question becomes, does wiping, does the Star Citizen having to wipe, will this affect the community? And how do you think it will affect the community? Nick, what are your thoughts?
Overall, I don't think it will really affect the community that much. I think it will just kind of, I think when wipes happen, it'll just kind of put a lot of the player base into like a hibernation mode where like they're just going to wait and see when the patch comes out versus get hyped and excited for it. I mean, right now, I've personally gone into like a wait and see mode for myself, just to be like, well, maybe I'll just wait and play 3.18.2, or maybe I'll even just wait till 3.19 because that's right around the corner when 3.18.2 comes out.
It's a good thing you got another game to play right now.
Everspace 2. I'm glad Everspace 2 came out to scratch my itch for a space game while this is all happening. I'm actually really thankful for that.
This is like I would so much like for Star Citizen to be this way, but unfortunately, if you want your gameplay to matter, if you want progress to matter, Star Citizen is not in a situation for that right now. Go play other games. Everspace 2 came out. It's fantastic. I got to a level 11, got to the second star system right now. Today, it's really good. Go play No Man's Sky. Even fucking play Go Elite Dangerous. Those are games that are out, that they will respect your progress. They will respect your persistence. Star Citizen right now is unfortunately back to it's a fucking alpha.
Okay. Nick, did you have more to add to the?
Sorry,
if you wanted to, you're good. I was about to cut you off and be save it for your time, there, Darsh. We'll get to you shortly. But
I will say, a lot of the new players, I feel like currently the wipes right now aren't really what's really negatively affecting the game. I think it's a combination of the way 3.18 launched, where people can't log in for a month, and in combination with that, it's just kind of shoving like a nail, not into it, but it's just kind of digging a dagger into you when you just want to play the game as the game,
kicking you while you're down. While you're
the game's kind
down.
of just kicking you while you're down, where it's just like everything you just did, even the players who were dedicated and were actually grinding for this month and just playing the game as a game, and when they could, your progress is now wiped, and I can see how just demotivating it is for people. It's not a negative, it's just demotivating, and it brings down morale. And I feel like CIG just needs to communicate around wipes, not in a more positive way, but in a more direct, clear way, and not kind of tiptoe around of hurting people's feelings around you're going to lose your data because we need to wipe it for a clear data set.
Okay. Darsh,
that's what I said from the start. Yeah.
So do you think this will hurt Star Citizen? Do you think this will hurt the community? No, I'm not even talking about the game. I'm talking about the Star Citizen like as a product. I'm talking about the community itself. Will the wipes hurt the community?
Unfortunately, I think so, but that is primarily because of how complacent everyone's got with the lack of wipes up until now. But yeah, a more clear way of communicating that wipes are possible, and wipes Not that our possible wipes will happen. The 3.18.2 wipe is coming is not going to be the last one. 3.19 probably won't come, but you can probably bet your ass that 4.0 with Pyro, with server meshing is going to have a wipe.
Okay.
And yeah, as Cupen says, CIG is promoting the game as if it has evolved away from it's just an alpha stage, even though it hasn't. When they make such huge changes to the way the entire backend database works, when they make such huge changes in terms of rendering with Vulkan, it's like when they are actively tearing down the foundation and building it anew.
Yeah, CIG has been promoting 3.18 patch on YouTube with video ads for the past month straight. And even if the state 3.18 is in, they've still kept their ads up and running. They've never pulled the ads being like, maybe we should wait until we fixed and correct this to continue this ads. They just stayed the course and hasn't done anything to like kind of correct or address it. I feel like the marketing is just like,
they do have to get new
why?
people in. They do have to get new people in. They do have to get new money in. It's like, and that's advertising is the only way that is the bigger way that even though our little podcast is very good at broadcasting the good word that is Star Citizen, it's only preaching to the choir. There aren't many, if any, new people watching this show as their first foray into what Star Citizen is.
If it is, make sure that you write down in the comments below, this is the first time you've seen a Star Citizen video, because that would be fantastic and very weird.
That would be awesome to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's like I'm sure they have calculated that if they advertise for a broken patch, they will get more money in than if they don't advertise it at all.
okay.
And at the end of the day, it is a game that needs funding.
Yeah. So the question is, do you think there is a way that CIG could both communicate that the game will have wipes and it will be broken sometimes, while also advertising that it exists and tries to attract new attention? Do you think there's a middle way between these two? I'll start with you on that question,
No.
Raj. No?
No. You don't advertise what's bad about your game.
Okay. So you don't no
So
way to let
when you
someone know
advertise-
in the advertisement that like there's
In
no way you
in
think
the advertisement, maybe a disclaimer at the very end in small text, just so you can get the word out. But the big, shiny, bombastic thing about the game has to be all the good stuff. Because if you mention all the bad, not all the bad stuff, but some of the bad stuff, so it's even the most pertinent bad stuff in your trailer, it's gonna turn more people away. It's underhanded. I get it.
okay.
But how many people are also going to go to the game, try it for the first time, and then not want to come back from the experience they've had? I mean, is it worth the $40? Is it worth the $40 if that person's going to go play it and then turn around and tell all their friends to not buy the game because it's trash and kind of like a dumpster fire right now? Like, it's like you got to think about their yes, the money is their bottom line, but they also need to consider their reputation as a game developer to the larger audience.
Yeah, because
that's why
it's
I think
important
a good middle ground. Sorry,
I'll say that it's important for people to remember that like. I've heard a lot of people, make jokes and quips and other accusations that Star Citizen is entirely run by its marketing department, because a lot of games have a lot of influential marketing in their for the whole thing. Based off of my experience, and you can believe me or not, people who I know who work at CIG have said that marketing does not have the power that people think it does. But at the same time, marketing is still pushing out an idea. But marketing can't make you buy anything. Marketing is not designed as like a blah blah blah, blah, all sorts of things. It's not some sort of this mystical mind control device that can get people to buy the game. The only thing that can get people to buy the game is the game itself, or word of mouth or other things like that. But the question becomes: is CIG wasting money? Are they wasting money by promoting Star Citizen in the state it's in? By taking out ads, because it's like, while the ads aren't expensive on YouTube, it still costs them money to run those ads.
It's still money. Us as backers need to consider, like, that's what our money is going to. Even though if it's a small portion, a portion of our money is going to paying for ads for a patch that is not playable for a large majority for a portion of people.
Okay.
Okay.
You said the words. Large majority. Do we know the actual number, percentage-wise, of people who can't get into the game?
We don't.
Because
No.
the way I've experienced it from listening to the community and reading about it on both on Reddit and on Spectrum is that the biggest issue is the amount of junk that you have in your hangar tied to your account. And I mean junk as in unsanitized database entries, not like the actual content of what you have, because everything about Star Citizen is it's like the more stuff that you have tied to your account, the easier it is for your game to break when you log in.
Mhm.
So is it only primarily the long-standing backers that have huge huge amounts of stuff in their hangars from subscription stuff getting every month, and from Kickstarter rewards back in the day, and stuff like that? But like, on the other hand, I've been in since September 13 or 14, something like that, and I got in the game fine. So like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what the percentage of people that are afflicted by this is, because every time something like this happens, it is the loud minority that is heard. We just don't know how small that minority is. It could be as small as less than 1% of the people.
It is important to point out that the people who can't get in will tell you they can't get in. The people who can get in won't tell you they can't get in, because they won't even counter it because they're playing the game. So there is that aspect as well.
They've given no numbers on the statistics on what's happening. All they've really stated is Bearded CIG kind of just stated it's like the numbers are going down with the fixes we're doing, but we're not saying numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So you asked before about a middle ground. I think that like the ad for Star Citizen, it should be all good, but as soon as you get into the game, and this goes back to my previous point, it should be like the game should go like, yo, listen, shit's bad right now. Like we know what we promised, and here's the dream. Like, we have the dream, but shit's broken right now. So bear with us while we try and fix it. We will get it fixed, and things will be good again.
Yeah.
But they need to have like a robust way of telling people that shit's bad right now.
Okay.
There's also one thing that could also help that is on the launcher having a server status icon and link on the launcher itself.
Yeah.
So you can actually a mini version of the status page.
Like a mini version of it where you could just see like the average color is server status, and an actual link to the server status page right on the launcher. Yeah. And it's just like just having that so you can open the launcher, see what the server status is like before you even click play. Like, that would be another great thing that they could do to give it so that players who
because the status page, status.robertspaceindustries.com, by the way, because it's like, I think like 12 people know about it or something like that. That is too buried in all the minutia of what Star Citizen is trying to be, to actually make it up to the surface of information that is very vital for people to know about.
Yeah. Okay. Nick, I'll ask you the same question. Is there a way that CIG could explain the situation with Star Citizen?
I think
also advertising.
I think all the ideas, I mean, they're not false advertising in a way that the game that they made has the content that they are saying it has. Just the servers themselves aren't allowing you to access them. That's a completely separate issue of what the advertisement is saying and what the current situation is like, and they have no control of what the current situation is like. They kind of have control over the advertising, but again, there's like no communication between the two, and you can't plan for things to go terribly wrong. What they can do in the future, though, is I think all the points we've kind of discussed is, have it so that this information is more readily available, adding like the server status onto the launcher so that you can see what the servers are like, having additional, warnings or announcements in the launcher or inside the game menu, just to be like, hey, this is what things are like, look at this status or this announcement. They have announcements on Spectrum and chats, but it's all over the place on which chat you need to get into to see the announcement, and it's not like unified at all. And also they do announcements hidden within replies on Spectrum and Reddit, and they could just do a lot better job of having a direct line unified way of saying this is everything we said, like a little feed of actual announcements, Reddit posts, everything, like an RSS feed of just like, we announced it here, but here's a whole thread of where we've all announced it. I mean,
if you want that sort of feed, you could check out the AstroPub Discord, and we have like a Star Citizen announcement channel for that.
That's true,
sort of
but
thing.
the problem about that is
that is
it's
community created,
community
and
created.
it is very specifically. It needs to be visible to everyone. Yes.
Yeah. It needs to be visible to all users, all backers, anyone who's actually launching into the game or just going on to say like the community hub or Spectrum. There need to have a unified way for these announcements to be seen immediately, and especially to people getting into the game and opening the launcher for the first time.
I'll add to that in the sense that I think that's one of the biggest things that CIG has fallen down on, and it may be because of lack of resources, it may be because of lack of interest from management, or just again lack of bandwidth, not enough people to do it. But it's definitely one of those things that they almost certainly need to address. Yeah. It's an issue that they need to address for that they put away from them, in terms of like there's just 17 different ways of getting information, and all those information are in separate different locations, and there's no one way. So it means, like, for instance, a great example of this is that when 318 launched, a lot of people were complaining that this was terrible, and why didn't they even let us know? If they really knew this was going to be so much of a problem, why didn't they tell us? And a lot of people was like, they did on Spectrum. And it was obvious that the person who was making the comment was never on Spectrum and didn't know that they had made this announcement.
Yeah. And so CIG is trying to push Spectrum to be their be all and end all, but it is removed from the game.
Yeah,
it is right now. Even though they want it to be completely seamless and integrated, it is right now, and it has been for years, ever since they started it, has been its own separate entity from the game. And most people play the game. They don't go on Spectrum. They don't go on Reddit. They don't go on the comms link. I have that tab open 24/7. By the way, it is best source of information. But
not people know that.
I am not everybody knows this. Yes. But all the backers, all the active backers at least, do play the game. So there has to be a proper information feed in the game, in the menu, or when you launch the game, or wherever, somewhere that's like big in your face, that tells you the current status, the current new messages pertinent to, like, not pertinent, but like directly pertinent to the gameplay.
Game. And I will say that person who I'm talking about was on Reddit when they were talking about that, and people corrected them and said they did on Spectrum. But that person probably only went to Reddit after they tried. They saw that 318 went live. Someone told them that 318 went live. Maybe they saw the trailer. Maybe they got an ad for it, and they'd been waiting for it, and so they popped on and played it, and they couldn't even get in and were angry about it. So I can definitely see the thoroughfare.
I mean, I've had the exact same situation happen directly to me when it was about 3.1 and 3.2 like release window schedules, because CIG said one thing on it, and I was moderating a chat, and I thought I was correcting someone on false information, but like, no, that's not how it is. This is how CIG communicated it. Like, oh no, I was actually wrong, because CIG did later announce it in a announcement on a chat in the testing chat, and it's just like, I was
has
on
access
Spectrum
to.
like crazy, and I didn't
Yeah.
even see that.
So,
Like,
so,
what?
so and this is what actually gave credence to the recent April Fool's thing, where somebody faked a post in Spectrum in chat by Xylo who's saying that like they're releasing the what is it, the Polaris recently, because that is apparently an avenue of information that is as valid as everything else. Because fuck off, CIG, get your shit together. Also,
When has CIG ever announced a ship on Spectrum?
hey,
They have.
if they can
Sort of.
announce huge patch information on Spectrum, why not chips?
Well, and to tie this back into the wipe discussion, how many people do you think are going to be affected by this wipe and not even know? There may be people who are playing the game right now who don't know there's going to be a wipe for 3.18.1 and .2.
How many people might be away for work right now for a few weeks, come back when 3.18.1 or 3.18.2 is out and realize, oh, everything's been wiped, and they're like, well, I thought I had some stuff. I thought only the UEC was going to be kept. I'm back at square zero. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then they'll go to Spectrum and realize, oh.
So
yeah, and not everybody is also subscribed to the newsletter.
Nope. Or even reads the newsletter, because not everyone reads in Star Citizen. I know that because I do an entire series of me reading the monthly reports, and it's one of my best series. Honestly, I get so many people watching it and listening to it because they don't have the time.
I'm one
to
of those
read.
people.
Yeah,
even though I actually do both. I read it and then I'll like listen to a YouTuber, I'll pluck a YouTube video and like give them my view time.
Also, I just realized something that completely negates my suggestion, to have like an avenue information in the game, because 3.18 was one of those patches where a lot of people actually just couldn't get into the game.
Yeah.
So,
but they could get access
to be in the launcher. It would have to be in the launcher.
Yeah. It needs, and that's not unheard of. And I know that CIG has issues with resources, and it's like, well, it's a nice to have. Well, maybe CIG, it's no longer a nice to have. Maybe it's a need to have, because times have changed. And that's the thing that, may be a thing. Just now you got to invest more resources into this, because it's the only way to ensure that you limit the fires and also ensure that people know. Because it's just, if you're trying to get players to know and play your game, they got to know when to play your game. If they pop up in the launcher and there's a giant warning, servers are down, they'll go, cool, and they'll just pop off and go to somewhere else instead of trying to pound onto the servers to try to get in and never get in. So, I think that's a good discussion on the wipes in general, and I think we're going to wrap this up here, and we'll move on to the questions and answers. If you did enjoy this, make sure that you check out JRDF. It's at jrdf.sc, or is it jrdf.co?
That is correct, yeah.
jrdf.sc.
No, it is SC. We spent a lot of money on the fucking Seychelles domain.
So, and then...
But it is SC.
And then check out twitch.tv/hey. It's Nick, hey, with 2 Y's. And I think you do a little bit of YouTube, right? But mostly Twitch.
A little bit of YouTube, a little bit of TikTok. I touch on that a little bit here and there, but mostly Twitch.
Yeah, check it out there.
It's TikTok. It's hilarious.
And I'm live on Twitch here and on YouTube for this recording on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Come join us live and join yourself in the chat. Remember, if you enjoyed this, make sure you hit that like button. It really does help spread the word, because it tells YouTube that you enjoyed it, and it will recommend it to other people who have similar likes to you. And if you hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon, not only will you know when these videos come out, but you will also be notified the moment these streams go live. So make sure you check that out as well. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. All right, chat, we're going to be right back. I have to watch the Renfield trailer again one more time. I should probably just put that in the title as well, just so I have the hashtag ad thing. I keep forgetting to do that, because it was supposed to be yesterday, and I did all that, but then it didn't really Renfield. There you go.
I'm back.
Welcome back. Exclamation point Renfield, exclamation point Dracula. Those will help you out as well. Those will pop up on the screens and stuff. If you hit exclamation point Dracula, apparently the whole screen gets taken over by a pop-up, so check it out right now. Ah, they lied to me. They said it was supposed to be a full screen takeover with Dracula. Oh, it's so disappointing. That's right? All right, I'll be right back.
All right. He's back.
All right, I'm going to mute you all. We're going to watch the Renfield trailer again here. I think it's the right time. Mm-hmm. So, again, this stream sponsored by Renfield. The new movie coming out on April 14th. It's a movie that I've been looking forward to. When they reached out and said, we want to pay you to promote, I was like, yes, I will do that.
I just saw that question.
Why is it when I watch three of you guys, I keep going back at the back end and Nick getting lost in his eyes? You have Todd Pappy eyes is what his answer is. All right, I'm gonna meet you all real quick. All right, chat, check this out. There you go, Renfield, April 14th. Check it out. Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage in a horror comedy. Like, it's fantastic. All right.
I have a correction for QPan, by the way.
What's that?
Or someone else in chat. They heard me say double IPA and were baffled by my willingness to assault my taste buds. It is not a double IPA. Yeah. You're correct. It was John Tonic. It's not a hazy double IPA. It's a hazy New England IPA.
Okay. All right. There you go. Exclamation point Renfield in chat, by the way, if you want to see it. Apparently, exclamation point Dracula is supposed to do a full screen takeover, but it hasn't been working properly. But I've had it up, and at least they noticed that I've had it up. So that's what I hope. Let's get to the questions, though. Welcome back, y'all. Thank you so much for watching so far and listening to us. If you're listening to us in the podcast, the way that the podcasts now work on the audio format is I take the two sections, I clip out some of the discussions in the middle, and so it's just a one full connected discussion and ending, and that's all it is. So,
speaking of things that are getting cut,
your camera.
Yeah.
I think there's some issue with the camera. Like, you may need to restart your camera or something, because it's like losing. It's like lagging out and then trying to catch back up.
All right. So we'll restart.
Here we go. Yeah, it may be a connection.
I will. Yeah, I'll go with a smooth and cool instead of
highest
balanced
quality.
Yeah. Lower bitrate maybe will potentially. It doesn't really matter here because
it's smaller.
The fewer pixels you get of my face, the better. Anyway, so.
All right, so I'll pull up the questions. If you're on YouTube, it'd be under the questions. If you look at the very top, your little drop-down menu on the chat, it says question and answer questions. You can ask your questions there. And if you're on Twitch, a little gold icon at the very bottom of the chat, hit the little gold icon. It'll give you the option for Captain Staple question, which you can redeem. You just type in both cases, you just type your question in, you hit enter, and it'll be added to the queue. So let's start with the Captain's Table question.
Fuck you, Buster.
What is Buster doing? Why is Dodge just gone talk shit? Yeah. All right. So the first question, we have 23 questions. Oof. All right, I'll try to get through some of this. I'm gonna kill some of these, the ones that are always asked. Sorry, Nove, but we just want to get into the complications.
A lot of questions.
So the first question comes from Ionic Gecko, who asks, with regards to the marketing of Star Citizen, what do you think of the idea that in the game's patch trailers they include clips from content creators playing the game? I think it's a good idea. It's not unheard of. It's been done before by other game companies do that in their advertising, but you'd probably have to get permission from those content creators, and that can get kind of murky if they're using it in advertisements. So, what do y'all think, Darsh?
The golden rule of advertising is always present your product in the best light possible, and one way of doing that is to carefully curate and prepare a visual representation of what it is that your product is about. Another way is of just a raw, uncensored way of people enjoying your product. And I think both have merits. Should they be both in the same sort of like injection of advertisements? Probably not. But I think it's like if you do it right, I think including people just playing your game, if it's bad, if it's bugs, if it's good, doesn't matter. So long as you can show that people are actually enjoying playing your game, it's that is like peak advertisement for you. Right there.
Like when EVE Online did that, it was the entire trailer was the player interactions and the voiceover and speak and the visuals of that. They didn't mix it up too much within that. I think they probably did a few cutaways near the end to be like EVE Online, but then outside of that, it was mostly a player experience trailer fully, and they didn't really mix and match it. I would be interested in seeing them do that, but not for like a 3.18, 3.19 like patch update, maybe like 0.1 patch update trailers, like just a little, hey, here's how players are experiencing it, like a mid patch like trailer, just to be like, hey, here's what players are like experiencing and enjoying.
When they can actually connect to the game.
When they can play the game.
A good example of this is CIG's already done this. They did this at CitizenCon. There was a CitizenCon where they asked specifically from content creators for stories and experiences, and they got to record themselves talking about those experiences. And if you had the actual stuff recorded, you could send it in. I know this because I actually was part of that trailer that was done at CitizenCon. I don't remember when it was. It was 2020 or 2020 or 2019. But it was a specific moment because I remember the moment very clearly, and it was like only in Star Citizen, or like, what is the Star Citizen experience? And so I talked about a moment where we were doing the, I always forget the name of the something. Now that Renfield's is popping up everywhere in my feeds, I'm like, Renfield. It's the Arlington gang. The Arlington gang. I was going to say Arlington Field or something like that, but no. The Arlington Gang's mission, where it was myself and Diabolus were playing that, and we were in a Retaliator, and we were just getting destroyed after we had managed to take out the target. So the ship was entirely disabled. We like nothing was working. So we hurried up, jumped out of the bomb bays. And right as we jumped out of the bomb bays, the ship exploded. It was just a cinematic experience where we jumped out and we got just a couple of like a little bit away, and then boom, the whole ship exploded. And we got rescued by Fairasult, who flew in right in a Cutlass Red, which had just come out. He just flew up, scooped us up, and got us out of there. And so I explained it, and then as I was talking about it, I explained it, and then Tyler asked a question when I sent it, and it's like, wait, do you have the footage of this? And I said, yeah, here. And so I gave him the footage, and they incorporated it into the whole trailer. So it's easy to do
Nice.
something like that with content creators. It's because they've already done it. So it's definitely an idea that they could do. All right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, what was your first game that you experienced a character? What was your first game that you experienced a character wipe? How did you react to it? And was there something you can tell others about character wipes in game? I'll start with you there, Nick.
I experienced it a lot with not really with MMOs. MMOs have always been like your data is always there. But when you start new characters on MMOs, you're pretty much starting from scratch. Star Citizen doesn't have separate characters to be like, hey, you're starting from scratch on a new character. But the MMOs where I've experienced a lot of wipes has mostly been player driven servers such as Ark, Rust, survival games I played a lot. Sometimes they would just have to be wiped because they added a mod, or they removed a mod, or data got corrupted when they changed things. There's really nothing on this scale of Star Citizen of like these wipes constantly happening though. Most games who do a test server, test servers run not too frequently or too often as Star Citizen is, and a lot of the data in the live server isn't really touched or removed unless they need to do rollbacks. Rollbacks is something that I've experienced a lot in MMOs, where something might have been broken or anything, and they just rolled back to a backed up state. But nothing too much that has been entirely large wipe of Star Citizen. I think with the Star Citizen wipes, with the size and scale that they are kind of unique to Star Citizen itself.
Okay. I'll go talk about it as well in terms of like wipes. I played a lot of early access games, so wipes are nothing new for early access games, especially like DayZ and such. I remember that. And when I experienced my first character wipe, I knew ahead of time that the wipe was going to happen. Well, sometimes weeks in advance. And I understood why it happens. And what I can tell if someone is asking, hey, what can you tell others about a character wipes in game? It often, for me at least, it feels like a chance to unscrew up mistakes I made when I first started playing a character in a game. It feels like a do-over chance. Like, oh, I now know how to play this game better. Now I can go back and play the game that I wanted to play, or the way I think is better, or the way that I think I get more enjoyment out of, and not have to waste points on skills that I never use, or waste my time to go do something I know I don't like. So for me, at least, it's more of a fresh and clean experience, like a brand new me, new character, new me sort of situation. Darsh, how about you? What was your first game that you experienced a character wipe? How did you react to it? And what is something you can tell others about character wipes in games?
Thing is, I've not actually been involved in MMOs. I played EVE Online for a couple of months. I played WoW for a couple of months. They never really drew me in the way Star Citizen does. I'm always been a single player, primarily sort of gamer. And if a wipe happens there, it's because I click new game.
Mhm.
It is my choice. I think yeah, it is jarring when that choice is taken away from you. I will agree with that. Because a lot of people feel like they're connected to the character, right? So I think like this is where most of the aggression or antagonism comes from against wiping, is because they feel like control is taken away from them. So like the character that they've built up, the game that they're playing, it doesn't matter anymore. So I kind of get that. The first game that I actually experienced that where it was against my choice was, I guess, Minecraft.
Okay.
Because that was like the first sort of multiplayer game that was sort of persistent, but also evolving and changing through time. with new patches. And okay, so if the game became too stale, we decided to spice it up with new mods and new mod packs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So we started from scratch every like 6 months or so, something like that. But that was our choice. It wasn't something like this is the same game that's always going to be there, but we're wiping because issues.
Mhm.
I haven't actually been exposed to that sort of paradigm before.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Red Cloud, who asks for me specifically. Listening back to one of your recent streams, you ranted about how the long delay of the X1 for the tech already being out. What if the X1 doesn't work properly with the 400 elevator currently? For those of you who don't know, the X1 is one of those ships. I will go a long way of giving the benefit of the doubt to CIG for a lot of the ships that have been in concept for a long time. But two of them that I just have no understanding why. Technically three, but I don't really care about that one. So it's not as, I think everyone forgets about that one too, the G12. But the one that is very much that it just makes no sense to me as to why it's taken so long is the X1. The X1 is just a hover bike. There's nothing special about it. It's a hover bike made by Origin. And it should have been. It started its production cycle with a small sprint in 84 weeks ago, and
you know what? I think that is the very reason why it's taken them so long. It is just a hover bike.
That's true.
There's nothing special about it.
But
so it's way down on the priority list.
But the problem
you have
is
the Dragonfly, you have the Nox,
yes,
you have the hover quad.
But
you have those things. Just play those things. Just ride those things. The thing
but
is,
here's the thing, Darsh. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
They have allocated resources to ships that are not in the game, that are not sold yet, that are being made and to be flyable before we even know they existed, like the Antares, for example. Why is the Antares more of a priority than the X1?
Oh,
because the X1's been paid for. Oh yeah, the Scorpius Antares. Because the X1's been paid for by people who are still waiting for that ship. I don't care how dumb it is. It's so
because
simple.
It is something new. It's slightly different Mantis. Because it does things that the Mantis does, but it also doesn't do some of the things the Mantis. It is still something new. So balancing the list of ships that need to be done is difficult, I was going to say, because you have a limited supply of developers and 3D modelers and lighting artists and animators and sound engineers to work on those. So some ships have to come out before others, and the X1 just doesn't bring anything new.
I get
because it is just a Nox with a different body on it.
But the argument is that it should be pretty easy for them to get it out there. Like there's arguments.
No. I'm going saying it is easy if the problem of it was just creating the mesh like that and putting it on a new body, but it's not. It's still man hours that you have to do the modeling, you have to do the onboarding animation, the exiting animations, and blah blah blah, and the bloody. Yes, and Hawk Outdoors says the hover quad should not have existed. Sure,
that's my point. Like there are lots of priorities.
Someone makes the decision which ship is put above on the priority list, and I am not that person.
I know. But my point,
neither are you, and neither is Nick, and whatever we say here is just going to be complete bullshit.
It's entirely pointless, but it is still something to point out that CIG has been very good at getting through their backlog. A lot of their backlog ships have been gotten through, and there's a handful of ships that are left in the backlog. And I know a lot of people want to see,
and most of them are the huge ones.
They're huge ships, like the Orion and the. Even things like the Galaxy,
the Reliant,
the
Endeavor,
all these ships. These are all big ships, and I understand why those aren't being in production, because CIG can sit there and go, none of these things have gameplay yet or actually work yet. even ships like or the vehicles like the Ranger, which is technically a motorcycle. They've never done a motorcycle before, so that probably takes them a little time to kind of get through and figure out how to make it work. So there's an understandable. It's like, hey, let's put this off until we have some time to kind of really devote to it. But then you get to the X1, and it's like, why wasn't this prioritized?
Or the G12.
The G12, and that was the other one that I don't care as much, but because it's just a vehicle.
Because the G12, you have the cargo variant, you have the racing variant, and you have the AA variant.
Yeah.
The Cyclone does all those things. The Cyclone also already has those variants. There is no need to create to allocate resources to create a new vehicle for the roles that already exist. I think that is the major thing that is taking back.
People already paid for it. Like, that's the thing.
I know.
And the people who are being paid for their ships should be, especially for the tech being available, should be prioritized.
You know what?
Go to bed. This has nothing to do with you. Mom and dad are trying to work some things out here, and it doesn't involve you.
Go ahead.
They should have just taken that one dev that was left working on the BMM and put him on the X1 and have him finish it.
I would have been okay with that. Well, the thing is, they may have, because right now the X1 is 100% in production and being made, but it doesn't stop me from memeing and styling on CIG for having the audacity to release the hover quad and a 400i before they even had the X1 out. That's just the Lion, the Witch, and the audacity of that bitch. Like. Like, come on.
With that said,
look, I get it. You want it. It's been in the production cycle for a super long time, but at the end of the, and I would like it because it fits the 400i. 400i is currently my daily.
If you love 400i,
yeah, but it's not the only criterion why ships get put into production.
I get it. Yeah.
Because I would love to have all the ships. I would love to have the Polaris and the Galaxy and the BMM and all the ships out now. I would love to do that, but I am not the one who dictates why ships go into production when they do.
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand
decision makers. We're just people trying to figure out why did you make this decision.
And it's the reason. It's also the reason why I'm just going to make it a meme. That's what it is, because I'm going to decide. I've decided that my goal this year is to get enough people to nominate the X1 for Best in Show, even though it won't be eligible because it won't be out that CIG will have to address the fact that the X1 is popular, and maybe they'll actually go, okay, maybe we should make the X1. I don't care if the X1 is actually popular or not. It's just one of those things where I'm just done with that being a thing, and just be like, listen, make it so that at least it makes sense. Make it make sense, CIG. That's all I'm asking, is make it make sense. All right, next question comes from Nov A42.
But also, we talk about transparency from CIG. Some of the things that I guess they have to keep to themselves, like the reasoning why certain things get put above the priority list from the others. I would love to know, and I would also, one of the things I would love to know is like a list of, or a graph of dependencies of why some things aren't being done right now because they're waiting for other things to be done. It's like but do we deserve those things as a community?
No. But I would definitely love to I think that the people who paid for their ships deserve their ships. When there's no blockers, and there's no blockers.
When was
we're going in circles, Darsh. Let's continue to move on.
Oh, I know. I'm just asking, when was the X1 announced, and how long has it been?
87 weeks ago, I think, because that's when it was
announced.
First, yeah, it was when it was sold. Yeah,
that's nothing compared to some of the ships that are out there.
No, but it's still what like you're not like the freaking Banu Merchantman's been around for much longer, but the Banu Merchantman doesn't have the tech.
That's been around for too long.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the tech. They don't have the full tech for like sales and stuff like that yet. So like there's reasons for those longer ships.
Yeah, I know. There's reasons. There are reasons for why it should be made immediately, and there's reasons why it shouldn't be made immediately.
Yeah,
and we're not the people in charge of those reasons. Chris, get on the podcast.
All right. Next question comes from Nov A42, who asks, Do you think the RSI Galaxy and Origin 600i are comparable? Both advertised as modular and about the same pledge price. Nick, what do you think?
I mean, the 600i doesn't seem that modular. I mean, it has variants, so I don't think it's modular.
I think they said that you could swap out the variants. Like you can physically move, like you can turn your the goal
like
is to
pick which variant you want.
Yeah. So like
sort
if you have the like the part that is the exploration variant version, whatever the touring version, that you could in theory swap it out for the regular one. But it's not like the Galaxy, which is straight up modular. That's true.
Yeah, straight up modular. Yeah, I would say they're kind of comparable. I mean, it's fair to compare them. I mean, you can compare any ship to any ship. I mean, that's what comparing is. Like outside of that, I mean, if you're debating on which ship you want to get, I mean, that's more like what are you looking to get out of it. I'd say, like, personally, I would want to go with the 600i and not have the more modular Galaxy, because the Galaxy is more like pick the module you want, whereas the 600i has more variety out the bat.
Mm-hmm. Darsh, what are your thoughts? Are they comparable?
No, because they have different functionalities. Because the 600i seems to be like more inclusive, like everything is contained within it. Yeah, enclosed. And the Galaxy has like the big garage door at the back, and like the entire middle section is swappable. With the rework of the 600i, I can see them turning the knob up for modularity, so you can swap out what it is, but it's still kind of like from the outside, it doesn't really have any sort of meaningful changes. Well, whereas the Galaxy, it is the outside-facing module that changes. Like you have the refinery that can bring in the saddlebags from the prospector or the mole, and then you have the cargo bay, and then you have the medical one that can get in the. Why do you keep turning my camera off, Paul?
Because you keep freezing.
Because I keep freezing. Yeah. But and then you have the medical one that can bring in the medical drones that bring in dead or barely alive people. That is, I think, is the biggest reason that you can't compare them, just because the Galaxy is a working sort of vehicle, and the 600i it's primarily more for show, but also it can do slightly different things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Risto Squad, I didn't say med drones on the Galaxy because they didn't confirm that, but they have mentioned medical drones, like the transporting drones in another sort of fashion in the design document, I believe. And I do believe that is sort of like how people are going to be treated at the medically spec'd Galaxy.
So on the Galaxy, they mentioned med drones in some way.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. That's the question I was asking. Did they say that? Because I don't remember seeing.
Oh no, I don't remember doing that. But it in my mind it makes sense for it to if you're speccing it out as a medical one, you would, because everything comes from the bottom into the module of the Galaxy. So either it's cargo, if it's refined material, pre-refined materials, or if it's goop in form of human flesh, intended for medical
treatment.
Treatment. Yeah. That is the entryway into the Galaxy. But yes, the Apollo does have the drones, but it would make sense, because they're both RSI ships, to have some sort of overlap,
cross capacity comparability. Almost certainly you'll be able to buy those drones separately from the Apollo. They just are built for the Apollo.
It feels like it doesn't have any sort of dedicated launcher bay for the drones, but you have, in the back you have the whole thing for over a scouting vehicle. So why not?
All right. I'll just say I don't think they're really comparable. I think they're just superficially comparable because one can technically could possibly be modular and the other one is modular, and they're both about the same prices. But I don't think they're really comparable. Like their roles are completely different.
Yeah.
Like you may have a luxury module for a Galaxy at some point, but yeah. All right.
Cargo passenger.
Yes, I'd love to see like a cargo version of the Galaxy, which has like just seats where people can sit like an airliner or something like that. That would make sense. All right, the next question comes from YouTube, who asks, "Should a player from Space Goat who asks, should a player play 3.18.1 or wait for 3.18.2 for a more enjoyable experience?" Without the cost of the wipe ruining the enjoyment of progression. So basically, should they play 3.18.1 or 3.8.2? Because if a new player jumps to 3.8.1, they're going to have a wipe. But they can do more things and experiment more with 3.18.1 than they can with 3.18.2, where they'll be possibly permanent for months, if not years, for that. Nick, what do you think? If you were to
I think it really depends on the gameplay you want. If you want to like play the game and just test it out, then play 3.18.1. If you actually want to play, if you want to start right away when it's things are going to be persisting, when your alpha UC is going to be kept, the ships you buy are going to be staying for a while, wait for 3.18.2 because the release between those two patches aren't going to be that long.
Awesome. Darsh, your thoughts?
Oh yeah.
Advice.
Yeah, like 3.18.2 and 3.18.1. 3.18.2 is not a continuation of 3.18.1. They are separate patches testing separate things.
Mm-hmm.
The nomenclature that we got used to is kind of thrown out of the water with those two patches, unfortunately. Because the things that will be included in 3.18.1 won't be, the new things won't be included in 3.18.2. For some reason, maybe we'll have 3.18.3 that combines the two, or maybe we'll have to wait until 3.19 to get both of those things, because some are back-end stuff and some are front-facing stuff. But I kind of want to say that the point of Star Citizen playing right now is testing. And if you're in it for the long haul right now, you're...
Okay.
Sorry. I was dusting.
Aliens are
my
calling?
Goxlar. The point of Star Citizen right now is testing. We need more people testing things.
Yeah.
And we need more people playing the game so they can just get more info in the hands of CIG to get the patches out. It's like right now is not, and yet it was a tricorder, yes. And right now is not the time to be asking, do I want to get into Star Citizen because I want to keep my character? Right now, you want to get into Star Citizen. Why is it so hard for me to say Star Citizen today? It's the alcohol.
Yes.
Right now, and I wish CG was more transparent about this. It is more about getting as much testing data into the hands of CIG so they can fix the damn game.
Yeah. Well, also because they want you to have fun. Because as much as this is going to sound old fashioned and quaint to some people, but a lot of people play video games because it's fun or enjoyable, or they're engaged with the experience and don't really care if there's progress. There's plenty of games out there that you don't really have progress that stays over. The social deception games like the Among Us and stuff like that. I think they've recently added a bunch of stuff like that, but like they at their basic core, they're just have fun, do this round, get done.
Yeah, it's like arena games.
Like, you go out, fight each other, and win or lose. The whole goal is winning and losing.
There's so many arena games that really can. Fortnite and what's the Blizzard one, the one that they just made a sequel for?
Overwatch 2.
Overwatch, yeah. Overwatch. There's no progress in that. You go in, you have a match, and you come out, and then you go in, you have a match, and you come out. Like Star Citizen is not supposed to be one of those games, but it kind of feels right now. It's not supposed to be about the progress right now.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Ionic Gecko, who asks, should CIG put a disclaimer about the game's alpha status and to expect bugs onto the loading screen? Yes. Almost certainly onto the early loading screens, that'd be a good idea. I also believe that with every trailer, if you added about a 3 to 5 second little black screen with white text that said, this isn't necessarily representative of the final gameplay. This game is in early access and the experience may change. Something like that for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Simple, easy way. People already see that disclaimer. It's not even new. Other game companies use that thing all the time with the games that are in development or games that are in alpha or early access. They kind of do advertisements. They always kind of add those on there. It's a nice little legal disclaimer, but also kind of a nice little quick, hey, just let you know this is what we're working on and this is the idea. So
yeah, we talked about this before. So, yeah. Check out the previous video.
What do you think, though, Nick? Do you think they should have a disclaimer about the alpha status in loading screen?
They kind of put disclaimers everywhere before you've launched the game. When you're creating an account and logging in, that this is an alpha, this is an alpha, this is an alpha. Adding another one, I don't think is really going to change a whole lot of people ignoring it.
Yeah.
It's not about adding another one. It's adding something that is more
Blatantly
visible
in your face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not an easily ignorable one where you can just be like, just click next and go. I want to install
Easily ignorable is what they have right now. It's the one that pops up every time, and you have like the countdown timer that automatically confirms
just, like,
for
click.
you. Yeah, because it's like 5 paragraphs of text. That is too much, and we have gone through this. Gamers don't read.
Yep. Especially Star Citizen players, they don't want to read.
Yeah, so those 5 paragraphs have to be somewhere, but that has to be like in big, bold, friendly letters that says, shit's bad right now.
Yeah.
Would you like to know more?
All right. Next question comes from Max, who asks, why ads on YouTube and Google, why are they focused on Star Citizen and don't prioritize Squadron 42? This will be a quick answer. I'll just get it over because Star Citizen is currently out and Squadron 42 doesn't even have a release date. So you don't really want to start promoting a game like Squadron 42 until at least a year before it releases, if not later, because the whole purpose of the ads is to generate awareness that the product exists, so that people will look into it. And there's no point in generating hype for a product that doesn't exist yet, and you have no idea when it will fully release. So, all right. Next question comes from this. We've already sort of answered this, but I think this was in the pre-show. Darj, I have to ask you this question first: Hosas or Hotas? What do you use and why?
Homac.
Hands-on mouse and keyboard.
Hands-on mouse and keyboard. Yes, that's the one. Now, the reason why I use it is because I don't have the room for sticks.
Yeah.
Because my little desk is barely big enough to have a cookie. I'm even struggling to move the mouse right now. I need to do some serious cleanup because, unfortunately, yes, I don't have a dedicated gaming booth and shit. Yeah, unfortunately. Nick?
I'm Homac as well. Hands-on mouse and keyboard, and I love it that way. I starting to get into flying with it, and I'm enjoying it. I fly decoupled now, which is great. But I have honestly no interest in getting flight sticks because I personally, to me, flight is secondary to what I want to do in Star Citizen. What I primarily want to do is experience the FPS side of things. I want to experience the characters up close and in their faces. I want to, be breaching and clearing areas and bunkers and all that stuff. That's the gameplay I want to experience in Star Citizen. And I don't want to be the person flying the ship, but I want to be the person boarding and pirating a ship or, going after a criminal or whatever on the ship, disarming them, disabling them, capturing them, and draking them back. I don't want to be the person sitting in the ship waiting.
There's also something very nice about having the same control scheme between flying
Both.
your ship and being on foot, so
Mhm.
you don't
Mhm.
have to change the sort of mental orientation where how you're interacting with the game between the two different modes.
By the way, this is me announcing that Nick is not going to do any FPS when he's playing with me. I'm going to force him to be the engineer so he can hit things with a spanner and be like, I'm
You're still
fixing
doing that in
things.
FPS though. You're still doing that in FPS though.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
that's
make him
true.
a pilot.
First person's perspective.
No,
I'm still
no.
gonna be swinging my damn wrench on this damn machine until it's fixed.
You'll still get FPS experience, but you can only get the FPS experience of an engineer who's constantly being yelled at to fix the engines. You're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know ships. Give me a gun. I'll go shoot somebody.
Like, I don't know why the power plant has eyes and fleshy appendages right now.
Give me a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Shout back to one of the best ISEs of recent
Oh, it's so
time.
fantastic.
That's such a great one.
It was so good that they officially added poop explosions to the damage state, which is, I'm not even joking.
Toilet explosions happen into a
toilet
damaged state. That
it's
makes
going to be a
sense. Like
thing.
you got water and water pipes. Things
Yeah.
are going to leak if things are damaged.
That's going to have pressures. Hosas or Hotas? I have a Hosas myself, but that's just because I like the immersion of the twin sticks, and it actually
Thing is,
it's easier for me to store twin sticks than it is to mouse and keyboard or all that kind of stuff. So
the thing is, for the proper immersion, you would need to change the control system for every different ship you went into because
That is true.
even in the human variants, you have Hosas and Homac and Yoke.
yeah,
No, so sorry, Hosas, Hotas, and Yoke, and then you have the twin balls for the Poa stuff.
I would love to have the boba controls, the booty
The
controls.
Wouldn't that be like the two like ball mouses?
little two ball
Like,
mouses?
Those exist.
Yeah.
You could just get two of those ball mouses.
The orbs, pondering my
going.
orbs while I'm flying.
yeah.
No, but
is looking on.
that is one of the reasons why I don't go for the controls, because you swap ships and all of a sudden the things that you have spent so much money and effort into customizing and getting just right suddenly doesn't match what you're flying anymore. So,
Well, you feel like you have a lot more control with the Hosas. That's what I'll say, is because that's where the immersion comes in. Like where you move the sticks, you can feel the ship move with the ship with the sticks, and it kind of makes sense. Your brain makes it make sense. I didn't like it at first when I first started using it because I was a mouse and keyboard person myself. But then as I got used to it, it's hard for me to get out of that idea. So
yeah. I remember in Independence War 2, I don't know why that came to me mind right now, but
because
Independence War 2
you found
didn't
out
have
that the
six
lead producer, of Star Citizen was one of the producers on Independence War 2.
Yes. No, but it was like if the joystick only had 3 axes, and if you wanted to do the other 3 axes, you had to hold Alt to modify. So if you so turning was one mode, and if you wanted to strafe, you had to hold Alt. You couldn't do both at the same time, and that pissed me off so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why that at that point is where joysticks and I never saw eye to eye anymore.
All right. Here's a question. The next question from, let's see. From YouTube. I think it's so it's a C or an O. MP Cotton asks, do y'all really think the CIG knew they could not fix this quickly? We know they're working hard to fix this problem, so why did they pull ads, and the fix could be at any moment? I don't think any of us are criticizing CIG for ads necessarily, that they ran ads. It's more that CIG had an idea that the launch would be pretty rough, and still continue. And even well after that, they knew that the launch was pretty rough, they didn't pull the ads. It's not even possible for them to say, "Hey, can we stop this ad campaign early. It'd cost them some money, but it would have also gotten them a little bit of goodwill, I think, from the community that already was pretty pissed that they were kind of messed up. That wasn't the issue, the thing that a lot of us have. It's more that CIG, and personally, I'm one of those people who's like, hey, they didn't know. I don't think that they maliciously said, yes, let's do the ads. But at the same time, they should have hesitated, and maybe in the future, the good idea not to run ads directly when you launch a game, especially if you have a belief that it may just completely break the game. But yeah, what do you think, Darsh?
Oh God, I kind of want to avoid this question because being on the internet, trying to do your own thing, you have to get into the marketing mindset.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to.
Yeah.
I could never understand it. So even when it was just me and trying to do YouTube videos, I couldn't do the marketing part. When it's a couple of people trying to do the marketing for a huge game that millions of people play, that has hundreds of people employed, that is trying to do a game that nobody's ever attempted to, and keeps running into problems and walls, it's like I don't know, man. It's like,
Okay. Nick, what do you think?
I just go away from me right now.
he's getting emotional.
Marketing is breaking him. I think that it would have been a good gesture towards the community to, I think, pull the advertising when they realized 3.18 was a dumpster fire, and then maybe returned it when 3.18 won and they put the fixes in. I don't think it's too negative by keeping it up. I think it would have just been more of a good gesture just to be like, hey, we messed up. Maybe we don't show this to new people at the moment, and then just wait until we correct it, and then put that advertising up front, because it kind of puts them into like a No Man's Sky-esque situation where it's just like, hey, look, this looks great. And then it's just like new people come in, it's like, oh, this is all on fire. And they turn into the that meme.
Yeah.
Walking into the room of everything's on fire.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That from community. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think any of us think that CIG was being malicious with it. It's just more of those, like, what they did after the fact, and are continuing to do, by the way. It's still being pushed all over YouTube and such like that.
I had two ads today with 3.18, so it's still going. It's
still going. So it's like the egregiousness after the knowledge, after a month of knowing how bad it is. Now I get it; it's improved and things have improved overall, but the question starts becoming like, when do you recognize that it's probably not a good idea to kind of, and try to like adjust for that. That makes sense.
When do you do it, and how far do you go? And it's like, it doesn't help that their social media manager just came back from Tokyo and is jet lag as fuck right now.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. And I will say this: C McD. That's not possible. You're not going to not run ads, period, because that's not, as somebody who's worked in marketing, I didn't work in video game marketing. I always kind of have that disclaimer, but the general concept isn't too different. You still want people to find the game and purchase it. So you want to make sure people know about it, and you can't rely on content creators and other people. You gotta have some sort of means of exposure of the game, and advertising is fairly cheap on YouTube. So the idea of having no advertising, no, you have to have advertising, even if the game's not fully ready yet. As long as it's somewhat representative of the game, or it kind of hits the highlights of what you want, then it's fine. Because the whole concept is to get people interested in the game and have them look into it themselves and start playing it. Like I said well earlier, no one in marketing has a loaded gun that points to your face and says, buy our product. They use techniques to try to get you intrigued in the product, but only you can pull that trigger at the end. And lying about your product is just a great way of never getting a sale. It's just, no one will buy from you again because negativity is much more of a like for every one bad customer experience, they'll go off and tell like 10 times more people of that experience than somebody who had a positive experience. It spreads a lot faster. So knowing those sorts of things, it's important to keep those things in context. So, all right, with that, let's move on to the next
Something more
question.
lighthearted, please.
Yes.
Stay away from marketing.
Gin and Tonic asks, how were they deficient in their communications? If they communicated that they didn't think they would need a full wipe until something happened and changed that. If they say nothing, they get raked over the coals. If they say something changes, they get raked over the coals. How do they beat the Kobayashi Maru? I think we already addressed that. I think Nick said it perfectly.
I said it in a way where it was, if they are unsure on something, just say they can just say they're still assessing it. We're unsure if there's a wipe intended or not, right? The way they kind of tiptoed around it, kind of hoping that, hey, maybe there won't be, but there could possibly be. I think they need to stop doing that tiptoeing and just be just cut to, we are in the process of still assessing if there will or will not be a wipe. We'll have more at a later date. I mean, maybe not even at a later date, but we will address it. We'll address that answer when we are closer to release.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is about communications is that the issue isn't communication. CIG communicates a lot. The problem is firehose. It's firehose and an Easter egg hunt is what it is. There are 17 different ways that CIG expresses information about this game in 17 different places. And it's not coalesced into a single easy to digest information. I don't know everything that goes on in Star Citizen, and I follow this game pretty closely because there's just so many different avenues that the devs and the CIG can communicate. So
at this point, it's like a full-time job just to follow whatever CIG pulls out at all times.
And you can't expect your average player to be able to do that sort of thing. And so they end up relying on content creators. And that's a bad move because all it takes is for you to do a big mess up with your content creators, which, has happened in the past with CIG. I remember the controversy that CIG with CitizenCon, where they wanted to charge a pay-per-view stream for CitizenCon.
Oh yeah, because they wanted to do 4K streaming.
And it was and that was one of those things that literally the entire community said no. And it's all it takes. And whether it's justified or not, it's pretty easy to do that. So you can't rely on your content creators exclusively to get this information out. You need to make a way that your average person can consume it that isn't that is connected to the game, closer to the game, especially for those people who are playing the game. So
I think I broached that in like the first 15 minutes of the previous video.
We did. I think Jin wanted to. I think Jin may have asked that question before we had actually fully explained it, but 318. Okay, so Gin Tonic then asks, 318 was never going to launch cleanly. It was going to be a shit show. We weren't going to be able to work out the issues from PES with that scale. Would you have had them say, "Hey, we need you to play this so we can fix it, but really you shouldn't play it"? No. But the issue wasn't, because CIG did say it was going to be a shit show. They've always said it was a shit show. They even said it was going to have issues. And they didn't know which of those were. I think the issue was more that
they couldn't get the concurrency in PTU to get whatever the shit show was going to be to manifest itself.
Yes.
And it only manifested itself when it went to live, and the concurrency went up the level.
Also, one thing you gotta consider when you're switching from PTU versus live is the databases are completely different from the live servers to the PTU servers. So in the live servers, you have every single account and information for every single user on that database. But when you copy your account to the PTU, that is going to a fresh new database for the user accounts and information. So even if they had all the users from the live to the PTU, that is being copied to a brand new fresh database with different structures and everything to how users are managed versus the live. Even just minute differences can make all the world of difference. And until you actually push it to live, you don't know what's going to actually happen with that communication between the servers.
PTU copy should be a one-to-one copy. not just your username and here are the ships and the money we give you, and now go test. No, it should be a one-to-one copy. Whatever you have in live should be in PTU if they want to test how, especially in this case, with how the game handles a new database. That is something that I hope they learned.
I'm sure they will, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I also I think it just boils down to, it's not necessarily that CIG didn't say these things. It's just that, again, there wasn't a consistent flow of information that made sure that people were setting expectations properly. And because like Xyla made that comment about it being kind of, they knew it was going to be bad. They're going to release it on like a Wednesday or Tuesday, and then they released it. It was like a week or so, or maybe a couple of days before the actual release, but it wasn't enough to like for there to be an ISC where they could have set it live on the air. There was no.
Yeah, they released it on a Friday night.
Yeah,
That was like, it's probably the worst time to release a patch on a Friday.
They love
night.
doing that though.
they do. I don't know why. It's a bad habit, but they do it. All right. Next question comes from Gin and Tonic, who asks, "How can you hold CIG accountable for not communicating on every available channel all the time?" I don't think the issue is them not communicating. It's okay for them to communicate on a bunch of different channels, but they need to have a centralized location for information goes to every time. On the I think we already addressed that, like on
And they kind of do.
the
The comlink page with the
Yes.
dev tracker, they do, but that has to be advertised more.
Yeah, it should be more in your
that
face.
doesn't that the comlink and the dev tracker only affect what's on Spectrum and what they post. It doesn't,
Not on
it's
Twitter
not, it's
or
not what's on
Reddit.
Twitter, Reddit, like all the other social media platforms where they may answer your questions.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's just like we need a central one that includes and incorporates those social media outlets included with that, with direct dev responses. That would be an amazing repository for everyone to get the latest information in a feed.
So I'm looking through something say something.
Ooh, fast card with the spice. Come on, Paul. Be honest. Darge isn't having camera issues. You're just getting bad at him for the unmeltable, ungiftable, upgradable
redeemable. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul's favorite chip. Everybody knows this.
I'll have to address this a little bit because it's not one I can address right now. In chat, I would normally address this in chat, but someone who's saying that their communication is total crap. There are tons of games that advertise open development that are way more honest and open, and it's fun. It's fun and crazy experience to follow. You don't. I can guarantee you. Someone pointed out, well, it's Coreborn that I'm following right now, so it's like, okay, let me look up on this. Coreborn looks great. It has its multiplayer survival game set in the open worlds of Ultra Core, build, grow, and defend your town. Okay, that sounds interesting.
I would say one dev studio that does amazing community communication is Coffee Stain Studios of Satisfactory.
For sure,
they do amazing communication, especially with their talking heads are just straight to the point directly about what the issues are, and they'll do 40-minute videos on issues and even their own company structure in a way that's just like, and their community manager is getting a lot of just kind of praise for the way they communicate.
Yeah. But I'm looking through here, and it looks like they have some videos and stuff like that they're talking through here, but it looks like they've done about maybe 6 or 8 videos. It's hard to tell exactly the number of people who are on this staff. Let's go with FAQ. What's this? So I get involved. Yeah, so they don't have a list of how many people are actually in their staff or the scale and scope of their game. And it looks like it's a much different sort of game. It's not really designed for the same kind of scale that Star Citizen is. So it's hard to tell 100%, but I disagree with the concept that Star Citizen isn't open. They give us, what is it?
It's too open, probably, at this point. It's like they gave too much information that's hard to follow and on too many channels. That is the issue. It's too hard to follow to have a concise, coherent image of development.
Mm-hmm.
They got a sprinkler system of information, but they don't have a steady stream of information.
Yeah. And it's 32 people. It's 32 people, and it's a survival game, is what it looks like. And they're also creating a pen and paper role play game, I guess. Which sounds cool, but at the same time, it's not Star Citizen. Saying, oh, this 32-person developer team that's making a survival sim is better at open development than Star Citizen. So that's Star Citizen's bad at open development. It's like it's not the same kind of concept.
How many people? 850 at this point.
Almost 1,000
with over 100 new jobs openings on the website.
Mm.
Like that sort of wealth of information, it becomes exponentially harder to
express
and express. Yeah,
I get it, and then that's not the issue. The issue is, I think it's disingenuous to compare those two. It's like an indie dev with 4 people talking about a game, or less than 50 people in a development studio. They're all in one studio. Is a lot easier to kind of talk about the game. But I doubt we see the same kind of interactions that we have with Star Citizen. You can look at the number of developer discussions on Star Citizen, plus live streams, plus their official videos.
There's a very good
like
spreadsheet to check those out. By the way,
yeah. So I think it's just disingenuous to do those sorts of things, and I hear it all the time. So, well, this game does this, and it's like, yeah, great. Like Coffee Stain Studios, fantastic people. I've met the developers who do it. They're great people.
They have a lot easier job of doing that.
Yes, because their game is a little bit more focused. It has a little bit more kind of a different sort of vibe, and it wasn't a Kickstarted game. Like that's the other thing. It's like it's just not the same kind of concept. All right. People were pissed that they weren't full testers. They originally promised by the original pledge to allow the community to fully test access. Now people complain about having to test. I don't know what you're talking about, Raphael. But let's move on. Next question comes from Jer Bear Life. What do you think is the reason for Spectrum being so full of negativity? It seems like 80% of the threads are someone whining.
Loud minority, as always.
Yeah, just in general.
Lack of downvotes. Fucking lack of downvotes. We can't tell those people what we really think about them. They get a small percentage of people in an echo chamber to upvote them, and all of a sudden they're up the most upvoted thread, even though it's like 20 people that share their opinion.
And the moment you go out of that echo chamber, you get deleted by Knight Rider.
Yeah, Knight Rider is actually doing a good job keeping those people at bay. Because
the answer is that Spectrum I don't think it's been handled properly in terms of as a community site, and CIG is very hesitant to moderate their own forums, even when they probably should. And Reddit is better. It's not great, but it's better because Reddit still has its tantrums and fits. But I think Darsh is right. It's because Reddit auto moderates with downvotes. So, like, because if someone just posts the same thing 50 times, they go, we've seen this 50 times and downvote it. There might be a thread of like negative discussions about the game, the very top of Star Citizen, the source of Reddit, but it's like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Reddit actually does have a good way of doing about this. You can sort by controversial.
Yes.
And you can get to the cesspool if you want, but that cesspool gets put in its place very quickly.
Yeah.
Also, Star Citizen Refunds has its own place. Yeah.
That's its own
we
thing.
don't go there. It's
we don't talk about that.
Well, the reality is that I think there's a lot of problems that Spectrum has, but it stems from CIG's. They do not want to moderate as hard because they don't want to come across as saying as
if they didn't want to moderate as hard, they wouldn't unleash the Knight Rider on them.
Well, the only time the Knight Rider comes out, it seems like, is when people are it's uneven at times, but it's usually when people are being a little too rowdy and such. Let me do it this way. I've made jokes and been moderated by not by Knight Rider, but by the mod team there for
I've
saying
had
stuff.
quite a few heated conversations with Knight Rider about his moderation, but apparently it's up to standard when it comes to CIG.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I would stay away from Spectrum.
All right, I'm just gonna ignore some of these things because there's just a lot of salt in the chat right now.
Oh,
Well,
I'm not looking at the chat. What are they?
it's YouTube chat. It's the same person who's talking about testing is now like they shouldn't advertise PU as a game. All their ads should say playtest now. It's like what? What are you on, Raphael? Get some help, please.
You don't advertise that way.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Even I, who can't come to grips with marketing, knows this.
All right. Next question comes from Moist E Rob, who asks, "Why is it that I watch the three of you guys? I just keep going back to Nick and getting lost in his eyes because he's got Todd Pappy eyes. Nick's got Todd Pappy eyes. There we go."
That's the biggest compliment I've ever received.
He has large pupils compared to his sclera. I noticed because mine are small and his is like big anime eyes sort of thing.
Yes, I have small. I have squinty eyes, so it's harder for me to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Vantakun on YouTube, who asks, "Hi Paul. Hi all. Do you think the Freelancer will have an overhaul gold ticket, or I guess gold standard this year?" No. I wish. I really hope, but no. They are doing an overhaul
for problems with.
Yeah, they are doing an overhaul for the what is it? The modules, the
big one, the
components.
No. For its components, yeah, its components for its to access the Freelancer's components. They are doing that, so.
But actually, completely overhauling the interior because it is very cramped in there, and I kind of agree. And if you follow Podsat and you follow the relay station, and if you listen to Eris for any 5 minutes at a time, he will bring up how broken and bad the Freelancer is. I kind of agree, but on the one hand, I also kind of don't want him to do that because as GRDF, we already have the 1 to 200 freelancers out there, and we'd have to redo them, and I don't want to do that. So I shouldn't speak. I should just stop talking at this point.
Don't change it. I don't want. We've already worked so hard with it. But maybe that's one of the things that the Freelancer should be known for. Is like it's the cramped cargo ship. You know, just don't change it.
I think it needs a rework just for functionality. If you want to do the stuff you want to do on the interior of a ship's like storage and living in it, they need to change that just hands down. So
yeah, it's very basic.
Speculation. Guns and Glue asks speculation on the Grey Cat utility buggy, the UTV. That is the sister's vehicle to the Grey Cat Racer. Gun racks and off-roading. That's what I think.
Yep. Yeah. It's an off-roading PTV. It's made like quad side by side. Just go off-road and have fun.
Yeah, PTV is very like low to ground and racing. STVs kind of like middle ground, and UTV is going to be like proper off-roader stuff. Yeah, not as good as the Cyclone, I want to say.
No, probably not as good. Or
as actually, should be better than the Cyclone. The Cyclone should have more grip on loose surface, but the UTV should be able to go over rougher terrain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost certainly. But it should also be slower, probably.
Yeah, because it's more focused on getting over stuff instead of just powering through like a bulldozer. Yeah.
Like I would rather be in a dense forest with a PTV than probably a Cyclone.
UTV. We're talking about
UTV. UTV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also the UTV kind of looks like a golf buggy. It's got that thing going.
Yeah, like an off-road golf buggy. It's great.
All right. So next question comes from Fishy, who asks, when do you think CIG will crack and add another? I'm not going to do that. Not going to answer that question. That's a question that's asked every week. Let's move on. We got too many other questions. Fastcart asks, Jay Lee had his last day yesterday. Any of you have some kind words or memories from him? I can start with this while y'all going. So I met Jay Lee in person a couple times, but the first time I really met Jay Lee in person was at TwitchCon, I want to say 2018, 2017, where he showed up because it was in LA. So he was able to show up, and he brought his guitar and was we were at a bar afterwards, kind of like a BYOB bar that was nearby the convention center. And he sat there and sang and played music, and we were all kind of hanging out and drinking, and he was playing music and stuff like that and chatting with people. And he was genuinely he's just a genuinely awesome dude. I'll say that. And all my experiences with him is he's very cheerful and upbeat, and he's a troll, but you know. I'm not going to be I'm going to be pretty vague about this because I know he's intentionally trying to be not super honest, but he also does his own content. He does his own content on YouTube. And he's
like us, I don't know about Nick, but Paul and I, his close friends, we know about it. He has an air of anonymity about his YouTube channel.
Yes.
So if he wants to announce it as Jay Lee on his socials, he will. But I think it's our place to point out to his actually very successful YouTube venture.
Much higher audience than I have. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's skyrocketed. He has plaques, not just the normal one. He has the second one, the gold one, I think.
He has the million now at this point. He might actually, yeah. All I can say is that Jay Lee is a multi-talented individual who deserves all the love and respect he gets, and I hope he does really well in his future endeavors. So,
yeah.
Darsh, what do you think?
Oh, so hung up with him in real life on a couple of occasions, especially at CitizenCon. He always took the time to be very, not just sincere, but very involved in the conversation he had with the backers. He just placate them with a vague answer here and there. He was very involved in everything that he did. But my favorite memory of him was when he was on our very short-lived D&D campaign. Yes. Our group was the Six Offenders. And I came up with that name live when we were live in character because an NPC asked us what our name was, and he was the one who cracked up the most, and I loved making him laugh like that. And he always, before we started, he brought out the guitar and he played a bit, and he was just such an approachable and such a I'm talking about him like he's dead or what the fuck.
He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
He's going to be on the internet. He's alive.
He's still alive.
He will be back.
Follow him on Twitter. Yeah.
Someone will. I'm sure Jared will drag his happy ass to CitizenCon this year, or he'll show up.
Yes,
you know,
definitely. Yeah. No, but he's just he's great. He's probably one of my favorite people at CAG right now.
Yeah. Nick?
My experience.
Fuck, not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
I have a few experiences with Jay Lee in game. I've actually remember when 3.0 came out. Jay Lee was streaming on Twitch. We were playing with a bunch of content creators as well. Board Gamer was there. We were all in a party together, and I remember we all went looking for the wrecked Javelin when 3.0 came out. And I remember just the interactions with Jay Lee were just awesome. He was such a great person. I remember I think I also killed him in an Aurora somehow. Sorry. I remember he was wearing red armor and I killed him. And when we were trying to get him on a ship, he was trying to get on one. I think I killed him. So that was fun. But yeah, I just remember great times playing with Jay Lee when that 3.0 came out. We were looking for the wrecked Javelin for the first time, and we kind of cheated, and a dev teleported us to it because we were so close to it.
Yeah.
But it was such a good time. It's the only time I've ever been dev hacked to a location in Star Citizen, but it was at the Javelin Wreck just to be like, okay, we can't find it. Well, the dev was just like, well, we're right there on the other side, so just teleport to it. And it was just a good, it was such a good, happy experience with Jay Lee, and he's going to be missed in the Star Citizen community. And I hope he still reaches out to the community and Bar Citizens and maybe Citizen Con and Elise is active. That would be great because he's honestly such a great person in the community outside of just being a dev.
Yeah. I'll say that I still have this, which is something he made for this background right here. Is something he made for VerseCon when the first VerseCon came out, and he made this art for us. So I still it has my old logo on it. I'm like, yes, I'm going to keep this on there. So, yeah. Jay Lee's fine. He's just doing something else. We don't know what he's doing yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing him in his future endeavors and whatever he does. All right. Well, Darsh is gone. I'm going to ask this next question. Notably, Nutali asks, with a sprinkle of roadmap hope, I think we'll see the Polaris slamming through the pipeline into the PU this year. It's been reconcepted, but it seems like a lot of effort being poured into it. Follow-up question to the sticks. Would you say I'm insane for flying with dual VKB Omnis? No, that's fine. Dual sticks
just average like stick setup. What?
But what do you think? What do you think, Nick? Do you think we're going to see Polaris this year?
No.
Darsh Polaris this year?
Polaris? No.
Yeah, no. Sad. No, that's a little too much hopium. A little bit too much hopium there, I think.
Too much opium.
We need another segment of the show about what I think about the word scopium and hopium, but this is not it.
Scopium is a good word. I think that. You said
scopium.
You said copium, but it sounded like scopium, and I was like, ooh, scopium. There we go.
That kind of makes sense, yeah.
Chris Roberts hitting that scopium.
Yeah.
Too much scopium. Too big scopium.
Mudtrucker asks, do we think CIG pushed live due to low concurrency on the PTU? No, I wouldn't say they pushed live because of low concurrency. I believe they pushed live because they reached as much concurrency as they thought they could get with the PTU.
So the point. Okay, so the point of these waves going from QA to ETF is the new wave breaks the game, then they fix it and they get it to a stable point. So tall Nick. There we go. QA. So ETF breaks the game. A lot. And then they fix it, get it so stable, and then they open it to wave one. And wave one breaks the game. And they fix it, and then wave 2 breaks the game, and they fix it, and open PTU breaks the game a lot, and then they fix it, and then at the one point they just say, okay, go to live and see what breaks. That is the point of these waves. They're supposed to be a controlled environment where more and more concurrency breaks the game. I don't think anybody at CIG thought they would get as much concurrency or as much complexity in the game in PTU as they would in live. If they would, they wouldn't go to open PTU. They would just go to live because so they need to have a stage in between, and once they get the game stable. And they see that that enough people aren't playing or playing in a way that would break the underlying technology, then they go live.
Nick, what do you think?
What was the question again?
Do you think that they released 318 to live because they were too low of a concurrency in the PTU?
Well, short answer is yes. They needed more. They didn't have enough currency to test the live numbers. There was no way to, and also the anticipation for 318 for so many backers who haven't even played in months. A lot of people just wanted to play 318 live and, have work toward reputation and work on the live experience. They didn't want to test it and, to have the concurrency up. And, CIG needs to start thinking of ways of, well, if you need to test players numbers, what are you, they need to start thinking about ways to actually encourage players to get on for numbers, maybe that might include having to have bot accounts in conjunction with active players to get the numbers that they need to test. But right now it's kind of just this weird thing where they have the numbers of players, but they want to play live. They don't want to play PTU, and you can't blame players for only wanting to play live and not PTU. So they kind of just their cards were kind of just dealt in a way that they needed to push it to live and see what happened. And what happened was it broke, and all they can do now is just work on fixing it.
Unfortunately, most people care only about live because that's where the permanence is. That's where they can rely on things remaining the same, so whatever they do in the game matters. But with a wipe, back at the topic of the dumb show, that really doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a very sticky situation that everybody finds themselves in right now.
I'll address something in chat. Someone said Paul's completely out in left field when he says marketing is not what brings in new backers. I don't think I ever said that. But if I did say that, I didn't mean to say it like that. Marketing, I don't think is a tool that's used exclusively for. In fact, I'd argue that I think I said that it is bringing new backers. I don't know.
You said it is.
It's definitely a part of the equation, but it's not the only way.
No,
but it's definitely a piece of it.
It's definitely a big piece of it. But like when I say that marketing isn't putting a gun to your head and telling you to like buy the game, like no, there are other parts to it. I don't know many people who watch a trailer for a game and immediately were like, I'm gonna buy this without like sight unseen, just showed up and bought it and didn't do any other research or look at anything else. Yeah. That's just bad practice in general. But even then, even if that exists, it's probably a small percentage of the total. So yeah.
Speaking of small percentage, like sales ENG or whatever, how we want to call it on YouTube, says that I'm crazy of thinking that it's only a small percentage of people who are affected by the bad performance of 318.
Same person
said that we don't know what the percentage is. It could be as low as less than 1%, or it could be more than half, but we don't know. We don't have those information.
Stating it's minority or majority, either way is incorrect information because we don't know the information.
Yeah, and that's what we said, I think, at least. Hopefully it's just misunderstandings of these sorts of things. The idea being, I would probably err on the side that it was smaller than most people think. I think some people are overestimating the amount of people who were experiencing this issue. But to the people who were experiencing this issue, it sure as hell didn't feel small. Like I had a 40K, I know a lot of people did. Yeah. But the reality is that it's hard to tell.
I had a 40K and I found a fix on Reddit that helped me resolve it, and that made me, allowed me to connect to the PU, and hopefully it will for a lot of other people, which was go to Arena Commander, crash, die, respawn, exit out into menu, and then go into PU. And that's how I was able to, I worked off anecdotal evidence, and whatever you hear from me, you should take as anecdotal evidence. But that worked for me.
I remember seeing some content creators, they were trying to get in, and if anyone gave them information, they would test it out, and if it failed, they would ban them. Be like, nope, that doesn't work. Like, stop spending that information.
Yeah. So that's just what it is. Okay, sales. I'm just going to ban you at this point, but my brother.
Yeah, it's like look. If you want to compare numbers, I'm at $1,800 into this game, and sure, like good for you, like sure, but the fact that you have over 100 ships doesn't make you more entitled to have a good playing experience than anybody else who purchased it like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna even. I'm trying to respond to the chat as like sincerely as possible. But if you're coming at us being like you're all a bunch of blah 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 blankety
with hostility, expect
then
hostility back.
enjoy another content creator. I'm sure there are plenty of other people who enjoy your presence. You're just not welcome here anymore. All right, next question comes from Trouble Magnet, who asks, "What do you see change in how and where CIG puts info on CIC?" Okay, let me read that again because my brain just did a flippity flop. What would you like to see change in how and where CIG puts out information on Star Citizen? I think we've already kind of covered that.
It's like half of the previous video.
Yeah.
To summarize, on the launcher and in game.
Yes.
And maybe a specific place in Spectrum where all the information could be said. But that's about the summary of it.
I would say, I think we also said something like the comlink and the Spectrum chats that kind of follows all of the dev trackers, make it more visible, make it put it in your face so people can see it more. That's about it. Because you have to kind of scroll all one way. So, even the status page could put it there.
The dev tracker would be amazing to be just a one click away from the launcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the status page. It's like all these things. There's, like I said, a fire hose of information, and it's like most people are not tuned to all that. Next.
Okay. I'm just gonna troll Death Trooper real quick.
Always a good time.
Yes. There we go.
Death Trooper's great.
Yes, he's trolling us, so I'm gonna troll back. All right. Irritated Considerably asks, if Paul could swap his cursed Deemer with another meme ship, what would you want it to be and why? I don't have the choice on this. It's up to you, Darj and Nick. What ship would you switch my cursed Deemer out with?
Like if I could just give you a ship just to be like, you're stuck with this ship, like forever, permanently, you're not going to get rid of it.
I was gonna go with Lynx because Lynx doesn't even have a gun on it.
Yeah, it doesn't have a gun on it, does it?
No, it just has 2 chairs from the Phoenix, and that's it.
I don't know. I don't know any other ship that I think you'd hate so much that you wouldn't want to get rid of it outside of the Redeemer.
Thing is, the reason why Paul hates the Redeemer has nothing to do with any fact. It's conceptual.
I mean, there are some facts, but yeah, it's mostly conceptual.
It's mostly conceptual, and none of the other ships come even close to it. Because all of the other ships have their the place in the verse and in the development, and the Redeemer was that shitty.
I'll explain why for those people who have no idea.
Designed by committee ship that nobody wanted, but we got just because it ticked. It was the politest ship to choose.
Well, it ticked all the boxes what the community wanted at the time. They wanted a ship that got a lot of guns, that could be a drop ship, that could be could have beds on it. You could have food on it. The big thing they added that everyone lost their mind was a coffee maker. They added a coffee maker to the ship, and that was things that made it stood out against other ships. Like that was the kind of thing. They had like a hollow table that would drop down and then be so you could like plan attacks and stuff like that. It was this best ship for everybody, and they really learned how to promote it well, and they gave it a unique engine design that people that was super, like either you loved it or hated it. No one was kind of in between with it, and it made it stand out. And
Jack of all trades, but a master of none. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah. What do you think? So Darj says Lynx, or which would piss me off because having the Lynx, it's cool. I like the Lynx, but it's useless.
I would go with the Rock DS then.
Oh, I hate you.
Keep in on that.
I hate you. Nick. That's the other one that I'm like, why do you exist?
I kind of get the Rock DS, but it's just me because I'm way more into non-military aspects of Star Citizen and a lot of people. So I theory craft a lot more of the pacifist sides of things.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, Skew Pan.
Well, that was the last question, I believe. Let me double check to make sure there's no other questions that I could think of. Okay, yeah, there's actually one more question that's just a really good one from YouTube, which is from Hawk Outdoors, who asks, with ship refining in the cards now, do you think the Starfarer will get it first, or do you think the Expanse or other unknown straight-to-flyable will be released simultaneously with that in the future? For those of you who don't know,
I don't think
the last monthly report specifically said that one of the gameplay teams, one of the PU teams, is specifically starting to work on refining. So, as of last month. So, what do you think?
Yeah, and it specifically said that they just finished the write up for how they're going to start it. So it's just starting it. There's lots of time between now and when it comes in.
Yes.
So I think between when now and it comes in, for the Starfarer to have refining, it needs to also be able to actually collect gas in order to refine. So it needs to. That's a whole other mechanic separate from that to come in. I think that they might be might be working alongside a new vehicle that's in production to add that gameplay to a ship that's in production, so that when that comes out, that ship will have the refining functionality. But I don't think, unless they add gameplay specifically to the Starfarer for the gas collection, I don't think that'll be getting refining immediately. But they could be adding it, who knows? But I would more lean on. It seems more plausible that it would be more for a ship that's currently in production with a refiner in it.
I agree, but primarily because from a development point of view, it is a lot easier to create a ship that is more suited to a new mechanic from scratch than it is to modify an existing ship and rework it, which they promised they would. The interior and functionality of the Starfarer is getting a rework, but it's a lot easier for them to create a new ship with all of those mechanics in mind to streamline the process a lot more when they aren't confined or constricted with a ship that is already in existence, and then when they have that figured out, they can jerry rig those mechanisms into an existing ship. So I feel like we get a new ship for refining, and only then will they rework the Starfarer to work with those established mechanics. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm both of you. I can't really like add anything else to that. So I think that's pretty solid. Because the other thing to add on top of that is that they said they wanted to add to make the Starfarer's refinery be able to refine things like Quantanium and such. But it's like they need to have some sort of ingest point for the Quantanium. So not only do they need ingest point for the gas, but they need ingest points for everything else, either by hand or through some sort of system which doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, and the Expanse has that. It has a huge tractor beam on the back to pick up the sacks from the Prospector and the Mole.
Yeah.
And my camera's frozen again. So there we go.
It's back.
Perfect.
It works perfectly. Everything's perfect. All right. Well, that's the last question that we got. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight at the AstroPub. If you're still watching this and you're watching this after the fact, go ahead.
Noah 42 says, "Do we have time for my first question?" It's like, I believe I saw them saying
your first question. It's your first question or your first ship, your favorite ship and your dream ship. That's what this is.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah. Now we're at 7:20, and I'm well past my time. I was supposed to finish up. So
right.
Sorry. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. If you're still watching this well after the fact, if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, make sure that you hit that like button, you subscribe for more content, and hit the bell icon. If you're watching this on Twitch, make sure you're hitting that follow button, because we do this not every Saturday, but we do this on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you come and join us for conversations. You don't necessarily will see Darj and Nick on, but you'll see any number of people come on. We try to keep it variety and more new people every week to come onto the table and talk about their own opinions. And if you yourself want to get on, let me know. I try to, you don't have to be a content creator, but I try to try to make it folks who do content in the community, even if you're just like an org leader or something, especially if you have a specific thing you want to talk about. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. And of course, I've also love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you watch this on YouTube, just type it down there. I don't respond to everything, but I do read them all. So please be civil, but make sure you, I do want to know your own thoughts on everything we've talked about. And lastly, like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.
Get